PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Hungry for a big win this week? DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. It's that simple. Just remember to use the code PHNX when you sign up. Hello, everyone. Chierstin here with Johnny Venerable, Derek Montilla. Guys, I was telling you this before we hit go live, and I just feel a little down today. I just feel like I spent too much time on Twitter and going through my feed and seeing just some sad and unfortunate news. I don't know. I hope that I get to laugh a lot during this show because I need it.
It's a tough day. There's a lot of really horrible things that happen. Everything seems to be a controversy, and it's just not a fun day.
No, it's not. I think, Derek, we need you to go and attempt to bench press whatever it is behind you, and I'm going to continue to ask you to do that.
Derek, do it for our sake. Do it for our sake.
Until it happens. But in all seriousness, I mean, we were talking about between the Ruggs news, and of course, to a lesser extent, everything going on with Kyler Murray, AJ Green status for this Sunday, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. It kind of speaks to the length of the NFL season. Aaron Rodgers is now out. I mean, unfortunately, it's just not a lot of like actual football news, like specific to games, like plays impacting a game. It's everything off the field, which I mean, like really, I had separated myself kind of because the season started this way with like, hey, COVID is not really impacting teams anymore like it did last year, right? And we were kind of spoiled for like the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season. Not only the Cardinals, but just in general, you weren't having these breakouts like you had last year. And now, unfortunately, that's rearing its ugly head again. And we're seeing it with Green Bay and AJ Green. I was ready to be done with that. And I know that's ignorant and selfish because the world clearly is still dealing with the after effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. But this is our safe space, right? And we wanted to be able to, it's 2021. This shouldn't be a thing, but it is. And
I think it's fair too because, and I don't want to say anything controversial or anything like that, but I think it's fair to say that because so many teams are either fully or close to fully vaccinated, that we just all felt by this point that it wouldn't be as big of a factor. But here we are every single week. It seems like there's somebody on some team testing positive or out for contact tracing reasons, et cetera. And today we learned that, yes, AJ Green did test positive for COVID-19. We'll get to that in a little bit. And I guess we can start with the fact that maybe some encouraging news. It seems like there's a good chance that Kyler Murray will be out there on Sunday and is working his way towards that. He did not practice today. But I'll go ahead and start off with what Cliff said today about, if he doesn't get out to practice at all this week, is he still comfortable with him playing on Sunday? So here's what he had to say about that.
How do you feel about if Kyler's not 100%? I mean, he might not be just like, you know what, let's just sit this one out, let Colt take over. I mean,
you want to have that conversation with him? No. I don't either. No, I get what you're getting at. Yeah, I mean, you got to there's a fine line you walk there, right? 17-game season, you got to be smart. Got some big games coming up. So we'll do what's best for the organization and do what's best for him.
I mean, I think just he'd be looking out for my health, obviously. So I think we would collaborate on that decision. But, I mean, that's not the case. So.
Okay, that's not the case, though. I do think it's interesting because, Johnny, I think you posed the question yesterday, does Cliff have the power to say, hey, we're going to sit you? And it seems like maybe he doesn't.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but beep, beep, because I did talk about this with you yesterday, Chierstin, where I felt like, I mean, unless you're getting intervened by Michael Bidwell and Steve Keim, and the three of them are sitting him down, and they're like, Kyler, training staff says, probably not in the best interest for you to play this weekend. You're not going to play. Unless that happens, and if it's left up to Kyler, he's going to try to play, and that's commendable and admirable, and it's everything we want from our pro athletes, right? If let's say I bought tickets to this game, and I'm a Cardinal fan living in San Francisco, and I've been looking forward to this game all all season. I spent my allowance. My dad and I are going to go. I want to see Kyler Murray play. So I get that side of it. I also get that the reported, timeline for his injury is 1 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And so him not practicing all week, Colt McCoy is going to get all the first team reps, right? And so what I hope this is a ploy, because I don't think he's going to be 100%, and I don't want to send him out there, especially against this Niner front, if he's not 100%. What I hope this is just smoke and mirrors, so the Niners are forced to prepare for 2 quarterbacks, and they roll with Colt McCoy. I'm a betting man. I would bet that's what's happening. I don't buy that he's going to play. I could be 100% wrong.
Okay, Johnny.
I think it's going to be Colt McCoy still. I think this is all just Kyler play along with this. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. A lot of people on Twitter are disagreeing with me, but I'm going to put my cards my chips in the middle of the table with this one.
There's the controversy. It's a conspiracy. Johnny sees a conspiracy. Well, I will agree with you, just because I believe it was the poetic Drake that once said, "Like a sprained ankle, boy, I ain't nothing to play with." Right. So I'm with Johnny.
I was wondering where you're going with that.
I don't want to see Kyler Murray play and aggravate an injury further, even if it means sacrificing a win. And I know that sounds crazy, because I think the NFC West is going to be very difficult, and I think every win is going to matter. I just think, what we could be talking about, as Chierstin and I talked about before, is, the one guy that can't go down going down. And if it aggravates and gets worse as the season progresses, that's going to completely change the Cardinals' game plan and everything that they can do as far as, Kyler Murray's mobility and just having him healthy and available. So
yeah, they can survive Sunday versus the Niners, but they can't survive, multiple weeks or a stretch of the season without Kyler and still be the same team. But there was 2 things, that arise in this situation. One is if he's not able to practice, and then 2, if he's not able to be the same type of player. And Kyler brought a whole other dynamic to it that I never even thought of. So here's more from Cliff and Kyler today on his status.
The type of player with his ability, his understanding of the system now, as long as he's getting the mental reps, we feel good about him going out there and executing.
He can't run like he normally can. How much more equipped is his offense to handle that part of it compared to last year?
Yeah, you've seen the offense. Like he said, his legs are a luxury, and he's a pocket passer now. So I think he can handle it well. He's done a great job from the pocket, great completion percentage, protecting the ball. So, yeah, we feel good about him being able to operate, even if he can't have his full array of weapons.
I think the last game of my rookie season, I had the little hamstring against the Rams. I didn't really run that game. Yeah, I don't need to run. If I have to, I have to. But at the same time, there's a difference between running and protecting yourself. And you can't just be a sitting duck in the pocket. So, we'll take it one day at a time.
So he brings up the point that you still have to be able to be mobile enough to protect yourself, which is not something that I really considered before. It was just like, can he be as effective without being fully healthy? But there's also another element. Not only can he re-injure, right? You can also re-injure it, but then you can get injured in other ways if you're not the same player as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah. The way I look at this is like, I do not want him to not play, because I think he's going to be taking off on like quarterback draws, even though somebody should have asked Cliff, hey, remember when he was compromised last year and you did a QB draw late in the 4th quarter? Nobody can forget that image. But with all due respect to this Sunday, my fear is him getting taken down in the pocket and aggravating that ankle further. It's not Kyler Murray, the scrambler, that's breaking off 20, 30-yard gains, because he's right. That's not who he is anymore. Thankfully, because he is an extremely gifted pocket passer, ascending every week. My concern is just he eludes pressure in the pocket and looks to throw downfield. And the Cardinals offensive line, we assume they're going to get Rodney Hudson back this week, we hope. They have not done a good job lately. They gave up 4 sacks last week. I think the week before they gave up 3. This is not the unit, at least in my opinion, that we saw last year and early this season. They have to be better. And this week's difficult. Nick Bosa's elite. Armstead, their defensive tackle is pretty good. They've got D Ford coming back off of injury. They're gonna pressure Kyler Murray. And in my opinion, that is where he could potentially re-aggravate it. Not, hey, direct run or RPOs or all that.
Sure.
It's, hey, Kyler Murray, it's 3rd and 13. You're dropping back to pass. They've got free rushers coming at you. They're sending a safety or a corner, and you have to make time with your legs to throw the ball downfield. And oops, your ankle twists the wrong way, and you're out 8 weeks now. That's the number one concern I have.
Me too. Same. I've had a sprained ankle for 17 years, Johnny. It's never healed.
What?
I sprained my ankle one time. It's done, Chierstin. That's it. It's just I walk on it every day. It's just, I'm not an athlete. What do I need to heal it for? It's just that my ankle just sucks now. That's the way it is.
That's
Ankles
hilarious.
like
I'm
this
sorry.
are just something that you can't you really can't.
Oh,
mess
you have a
with, like you
sprained
said.
ankle? When did you do that? Oh, 17 years ago.
Yeah, 17 years
Never
ago.
healed.
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah, I'm old now. Okay, no, but I think that what you're saying is 100% right. Football's a violent game. You can't know when someone's gonna tackle you by an ankle or anything like that, right? So the amount of just running on it or damage you could do just running on alone is bad enough. But you throw in the fact that someone could literally grab your leg and try to rip it off, and that's a whole other level of me being worried about Kyler. I just would rather, like you said, I think that throwing the dual quarterback thing at them is a smart thing because it makes them have to compare for two completely different styles or prepare. They don't have the one quarterback that, as a backup that is like Kyler Murray. Colt is completely different. So the fact that they do have to prepare for these two guys, is a little bit of an advantage for the Cardinals, especially if they're going with Colt.
So if they do go with Colt, you're going to have your backup quarterback. You are likely going to be without A.J. Green. So again, we've talked about this at length because unfortunately this isn't the Cardinals' first bout with COVID this season. He will have to produce back-to-back negative tests within a 24-hour period, which I don't know when the quickest turnaround we've seen has been, but I feel like there's probably a pretty good chance that he's not going to be out there. So I guess we're looking at worst case scenario here would be your backup quarterback. You're down one of your receivers. DeAndre Hopkins is still, battling that hamstring injury. Cliff was he seemed pretty, uncertain and genuinely uncertain about whether or not DeAndre was going to be able to be out there or will be able to be out there on Sunday. But again, said, hey, you never know with him, he could not practice all week, hop off the trainer's table and go straight into the game. But it was the first time where normally it's just like, yeah, day to day. And he was like, genuinely, I really don't know if he's going to be good to go. So that would be, really something if they're down their two top receivers as well.
I think DeAndre will play because
you always think that, Johnny. At some point, he's going to miss a game.
He was sneaking in, unbeknownst to Cliff, in the 3rd and 4th quarter of the Packer game when everybody in the press box was like, I guess Hopkins is down. Well, I'm like, well, why does he have his helmet on trying to get in the game? Why haven't they said that he's out? He's in the game right now. That was 10 days ago. He finished the game, presumably good enough to walk off the field. That calf hasn't gotten worse over that time. He does not need to practice. Kyler, quarterback, different circumstances, different responsibilities.
Correct.
DeAndre, put him on ice until Sunday. I think he'll be fine. I also think that the depth that they've accumulated now, Zach Ertz being in the fold, two very capable running backs. Again, Rodney Hudson hopefully coming back. What you've gotten from Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk, and Antoine Wesley, who made a big 3rd down catch against Green Bay. I am not concerned yet. Now, of course, if Hopkins is compromised, that changes everything. But I have faith, and I can eat all the crow if we're sitting here Monday and Colt McCoy stunk it up. I have all the faith that Colt McCoy is going to come out number 12, and he's going to be efficient enough to get this win. I don't know if he can do it. We'll have to see how the defense responds. That to me is where the bigger question marks are, and we'll speak on that as we preview the game, as the week progresses. But Colt McCoy takes care of the football, gets it out quickly. I think this will rein in Cliff a little bit. I put it in my article today. Go PHNX.com. Why it's the right move to start Colt McCoy, because I think Cliff will be less likely to try to go for the continued knockout punch that comes with having Kyler Murray. And I think that they'll put together methodical drives. He'll incentivize the run game. He'll prioritize it. You can run on the 49ers. Jonathan Taylor 2 weeks ago with Indianapolis went for over 100. I think that Colt McCoy, you went and prioritized him in free agency in the first wave, late March, for situations like this. So it's foolish for you when you have aspirations of just not only getting to the postseason, but having success, to say Kyler Murray is injured. He's not going to practice all week, but we're going to throw him out there on the road against a fierce division rival. It's just not, it's irresponsible. Colt McCoy was brought in for this type of situation. You're paying him a decent amount of money to be the backup. You need to play him this weekend.
So do you think Kyler's just talking the whole situation up then by what he said today? That's
Yes,
not the case.
I think he's in on it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I believe Kyler believes he's going to play, because in Kyler's mind, there's nothing that can stop him, right? But no, I'm with you. I think he could definitely be, teams do this. Teams do it all the time. With the D-backs, Torey Lovullo openly apologizes for it and tells us at times he's going to lie to us, our faces. So at least we get that. But, these teams, the last thing they have to worry about is telling us or anybody really what their game plan really is for Sunday, right? So I think it's smart. I wonder if this decision would have been different if they would have won the game against Green Bay. Same circumstance, going up against 49ers, but undefeated. Would they have put their undefeated streak in the hands of Colt McCoy? I don't know. I think it takes the pressure off.
Starting Colt McCoy.
Yeah.
If that would have happened.
I think it would have taken the pressure off them if they had won the game and then trotted Colt McCoy out, even if they were putting their undefeated record on the line, because right now they're in, I don't want to be too overdramatic about it, but they're in a little bit of a jeopardy just because they've lost a game. They've lost some players, mainly JJ Watt, big key to your defense. And they don't want that to snowball, right? And so they're in a situation where they're like, okay, we need to nip this. It was one loss. We need to make sure that it's only one loss. Let's move forward. And I think they would have been much more confident rolling Colt McCoy out if they had won the game. So I actually think the opposite of what you think, Darren.
Okay.
I agree.
And that's fine. That's why I don't like really an undefeated streak going on. I think that it can cloud the judgment because, games like this, obviously there's very little you can do. And the last thing, as we discussed, you want to do is get Kyler Murray injured any further than he is right now. I think that, with an undefeated streak, there comes a certain weight of trying to keep it going. Whereas now that it's over, they can just manage this team and do everything they can to stay healthy as healthy as possible and get to the playoffs with as many of their starters as they can.
I'm going to say it, and then we'll move on quickly. Just remember, just because it's just one positive test doesn't mean more aren't coming. So again, I know the players have had to have that hang over their head at times this season where they're just hoping like, hey, I hope I'm not next. I hope my teammate's not next. I hope we don't get any more positive cases. But that was one of the first things. Well, when it comes to AJ Green, I feel sorry for the dude. He can't catch a break. He's getting, bash and probably wants to quickly move on from his blunder from last week.
Sure.
Now he's got COVID, is likely not going to be able to play on Sunday. And then now his teammates have to worry about whether or not they're going to get hit again and lose more players heading into a divisional game. And I hate for the players. I hate that. They all came in with masks during today's media availability, and it was either one of two reasons. One, because of Aaron Rodgers' positive test, or because AJ's test, or maybe because it's more than just AJ. But I thought it was interesting. Another media member turned to me and said, "You notice that they're all wearing masks? I bet you something's going to come down today." And again, it could have just been because of certain protocols, because an opponent had a positive test, but it's just something that's constantly hanging over their head.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, it's the worst. I mean, just on a personal note, my daughter got exposed at school. She never actually caught it, but just because of the exposure, she ended up missing like 12 days of school. Just
Oh my
because,
gosh.
and it's just because of the school's policy. The school's policy was, instead of so many days, she had to wait, like 5 days to get a test. And because at the time there was a shortage of the test that you can get done the same day, we had to get like the PCR test that takes a few more days to come back. That took a while because of how many people are getting tested. Now, obviously, this is different than, like a professional football team. They're going to have access to testing, better testing than me at good old Walgreens, right? But it just means like sometimes this stuff is crazy. And again, my daughter went the whole time without having it, but because of the procedure, because of the policy, her just being exposed caused her to miss almost as much time from school as somebody probably that would have actually contracted COVID. It's unfortunate. And I think that we, in a lot of situations, we're still very kind of flying blind in regards to this, so I think we see all of these different shifts in procedures because at times people don't really know what to do, and I think it is better to err on the side of caution, right? And have everybody wearing masks in the facility if there is a potential outbreak. Even if it might be too late, like even if you're sitting there going, well, what's the point? If they contracted it, 3 days ago, not today. Well, who knows? Now someone could have it, someone might not have it, and they might get it today because they're talking to that person, without a mask on or whatever. So it's just all the worst. I hate this entire situation, and obviously goes far beyond football, but it's definitely difficult on, I think, all of us in society right now. But like you said, Johnny, we're seeing it rear its head again and affect football in a major way that we kind of thought we had gotten past.
I told this story before, back when Kingsbury tested positive, and because he was at media availability that morning, and so I shared like the extreme protocols that they have at the facility just for reporters to be able to be present. We have to take a COVID test every single week and go through a series of, you have to be vaccinated. You have to have a negative COVID test every single week. You've got to answer a series of questions when you walk in, get your temperature checked, and wear a mask to even get into the facility. And that's just for reporters. And I know that the players have trackers and do all the things as well. And so they definitely try their best. I don't know what more you could really do to try and prevent spreading it, but there we are again. I certainly hope, fingers crossed for the Cardinals, that it's an isolated case with A.J. Green. And again, we don't know for sure. He has not officially been ruled out for Sunday's game. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Some other injury news. Max Garcia, Rodney Hudson were both out there today, but still day to day, so not much of an update on them. I did wonder, because as I was looking at the injury report, which we all know Wednesdays don't mean a whole lot, but I was taking a look at it and realized that JJ is still listed on the injury report and has not been put on IR, and we've been talking about why that is. I had to phone a friend and call a former coworker, Bruce Cooper, and ask him, like, hey, what do you think, Coop? Because I am not understanding exactly why they haven't put him on IR. And so he was telling me, he was like, honestly, it's probably just because it's like sort of a non-factor right now. Like his roster spot is not, it doesn't really matter if they put him on IR or don't. And so it just doesn't really matter, because I just couldn't understand why they wouldn't do it. He's obviously not going to be back anytime soon. I don't know even if they were waiting till after his surgery, which he's supposed to have this week. I'm not sure if he's had it yet or not. But even if they were waiting, IR is a minimum 3 weeks. He's not coming back before 3 weeks. So I just don't understand why he's not on IR yet. It doesn't really mean anything whether he is or not, but I just found it interesting.
I am going to go full conspiracy theory.
Oh,
tonight.
let's hear it.
Every segment. I think he got a second opinion, and I think that he's weighing his options right now, and he told the team, let's pump the brakes, and he's putting off surgery. I have nothing to base that off of other than hope, because I have talked to some of my Twitter cronies. I don't know if you guys know Jess Root, covers the Cardinals for Cardinals
Yes.
Wire, does a great job.
Great guy.
And Jess is like, why haven't they put him on the IR yet? And he's like, I think it might be because he thinks he's going to play in like late November. And I'm like, there's no way that's possible. And every day that's passed and that news hasn't come out yet, and we haven't heard from him, and you've got Steve Keim on the radio, it's like, oh, could this be a real thing? Because once upon a time, he was supposed to be done for the year with Houston, and he was back for the playoffs. I don't like, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I like the fact that no one's addressing it and we haven't heard anything about it and they haven't done it yet. You would think you rip the Band-Aid off, put him on IR, get the surgery, rehab. We'll see him, maybe in the off season or, late January. I bet he got another opinion on his shoulder. And they're like, rest up, ice up, do the tubs, do the baths, and we'll double check in a couple weeks and see how you're doing. I want to believe that. I have nothing to go off of that, though.
I have my own conspiracy theory that he's an X-Men style mutant with healing abilities, and he's just waiting for it to wrap up, and he'll be out there on the field. Like Elon Musk said, he just needs some stem cell injecections. He'll be out there this weekend. It's going to be great. Can't wait. It's going to be exciting. People are going to go.
Wouldn't that be unbelievable?
Yeah, it would be.
With the starters in San Francisco in uniform.
I'm just joking, and it's giving myself too much hope here. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a terrible situation. But hey, the fact that he's not on the IR at least gives me a little hope. And who knows? Like you said, Chierstin, it's mostly roster spot stuff, right? So I mean, I don't know. I know that some other sports have like a specific roster spot just so that they can put someone that's not coming back on it and call someone up from the from the practice squad or whatever. But I don't know.
If it was like back in the day where like you could only bring so many players back off IR, like it was different rules.
Yeah.
I mean, now
that was the worst.
Yeah, now it's like it doesn't really matter. It's just a 3-week rule, so that it doesn't make any sense to me. We're all turning into conspiracy theorists because we want answers.
What was that show with the aliens and David Duchovny? You know that show, Derek.
X-Files. Yeah, X-Files.
We need the X-Files.
I wasn't allowed to watch it.
I'm not surprised by that.
Never watched it.
That's what we need. We need that plane because I'm getting my hopes up that now he's going to come back soon. And I'll play to our audience and think that that's a possibility.
All right, well, the Cardinals went from being this game being a pick'em on the DraftKings Sportsbook app to now being 1.5-point favorites this weekend. So it went from 2.5-point favorites down to even Steven, and they are back to being favorites in this game. And as always, if you have not downloaded the DraftKings Sportsbook app, we would love it if you do to use the code PHNX. Bet $5 again on any NFL team to win their game. You're going to get $200 in free bets if they win. 21 and over, though, for the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Arizona only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And also, Johnny, I wanted to get your opinion on this because you felt it was going to swing in the favor of the Niners, and it has not yet.
It really, I wasn't aware that it had swung back in favor of the Cardinals, kind of maybe torpedoes my theory that Kyler Murray is not going to play, because it's one thing for the public to think Murray's going to play and everybody at Twitter yelling and screaming at me that Murray's going to play and he's never missed a game. Vegas is in tune with teams and medical staffs, and they have insiders and sources and people sleeping in dumpsters to get these kind of takes. So I would say that if that number stays the same and continues to grow, I mean, at the very least, maybe Kyler Murray's active and we just kind of go through warmups and you see, and then you have Colt McCoy ready to go if something were to happen. But that would lead me to believe that Kyler, they think he's going to play. Because if that number we talked about yesterday, I thought that number was going to go from a pick'em to drop to like 3 or 4 in favor of San Francisco. That hasn't happened yet. So I think there's a possibility this game could just kind of be removed from DraftKings at some point over the weekend too. And we talked about that. I have no idea. All I know is I'm not betting this game. I have no interest in betting this game.
Right.
Not from a prop standpoint or a money line standpoint. I don't feel good about it. How could you? Ask me in a week. Well, I'll bet against Carolina, but not this weekend.
Now you have me suspicious that sport books have guys dressed up as like ushers and stuff in the stadium,
Yes,
and
100%.
just like 4 guys in the trash can. And I mean, I don't know, but this is probably very true, because how many times have you seen a line go by that half a point? I'm still stuck on that Giants 2-point conversion from a few weeks ago that screwed me over. But like, it's crazy how close they get these end scores to the to the line, and only rarely are they vastly off. So I'm with you on that. Vegas definitely knows something, but who knows? They might be like our commenter said, they might be just going off of Kyler's press conference. They might be buying the hype.
I have an enormous apology to make. Elon Musk dropping a super chat, and I totally missed it. By the way. Yeah.
I said the Elon Musk, by the way. We just want to make sure everybody knows he's a huge fan.
Only the actual Elon Musk, yes. I totally missed it about almost 20 minutes ago at this point. So I am so sorry. We appreciate the super chat. And Elon is asking, will Andy Isabella play if Green is out and or D-Hop?
Johnny?
Yes. If Green is out, he will absolutely play. I think it's a foregone conclusion he'll be active. So I guess let me rephrase that. Playing and being active are two different questions. He will absolutely be active. He will have a role in some capacity. When they go 4 receivers, I expect it to be Antoine Wesley, but he will be active on the sideline with a helmet on. He's only been active twice
the question
this year.
was, is he going to play? Not is he going to be active? Nobody cares.
He's going to be
active,
dressed,
Johnny.
Chierstin. He's going to wear a uniform.
Antoine Wesley is an outside receiver, as is Green. Wesley replaced Hopkins. He will replace Green. So
gotcha.
To re-answer the question, I don't, unless there is an injury to one of the 2 slot receivers, I think that is unlikely. He'll be active though. See him in uniform if you're there. Hey, Andy.
All excited for that one. I hope he gets some playing time. The resident Andy Isabella fan here speaking. And Beanard agrees. I feel like it will be mostly Wesley, though. Yes. Yep. Jordan P. asking, if we sit Kyler this game, would you expect him to be ready to go for the Panthers game? Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
I think that's a consensus on that one. I mean, his injury is like a sprained ankle. Now, if he's Derek, I would say no.
Correct. 17
he's
years.
Not Derek.
Yeah. He has medical staff and doctors and stuff, different stuff than I have. But, it's also people care about his leg. Nobody cares about my leg. So it's definitely different. I think
that's not true.
It's
care about your leg.
It's a mild sprain. And so is Kyler's. So I definitely expect to see him back in 2 weeks. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't, with the way that they can literally tape a guy's ankle up and such, I wouldn't even be surprised to see him out there this week. But if he doesn't play this week, which I'd prefer he didn't, I'd definitely expect to see him next week.
I was tempted to ask Johnny if you wanted to place a bet on whether or not he'll play, but I'm not good. I just think it never fall in favor of me. So I think I'll probably just stay away from that. But I love to play devil's advocate, and that's what gets me in trouble.
Well, you were right about Chase Edmonds. So
yes.
I will ask you on Friday for your opinion as to whether or not Kyler's going to play. We'll do a panel with myself and you and Frank, and we'll just kind of shoot the bull. And we're going to be hanging with Christian Kirk. I don't think was I allowed to reveal that. And we can ask Christian too if Kyler's going to play, and we can get a source on the matter. But I'll be interested, Chierstin, to get your opinion on that, because you're 1 for 1 recently. And I was adamant that wasn't going to happen, and I'm adamant thinking Colt McCoy is going to play. So,
we laughed at you. We pointed and laughed and said, "Ha ha!" And look at how smart you were. You totally made us look like dummies.
That's right. Not the first time.
Well, since you mentioned it, we might as well just tell our viewers that, yes, we are going to have Christian Kirk on our show on Friday,
awesome.
which I'm super excited about. Hopefully get some good stuff out of the local guy. Always love to talk to him. And while we're talking about that, I might as well plug what we've got going on our website. Johnny, do you want to go ahead and plug what your most recent work is?
I'd love to. Yeah. As I do that, I'm excited to ask Christian what it's going to be like to play for the Jets next year. But
Johnny.
no, go PHNX.com. I've got an article pertaining to this very subject entitled, "Here's Why Starting Colt McCoy Against the 49ers is the Right Move for the Cardinals." Posted this afternoon. It goes into further detail. Basically, it's a self-help guide for you if you're having doubt to watching Colt McCoy operate on Sunday. Think back, and I know it's the preseason. Colt McCoy looked really good in the preseason. I think he's a perfect fit for Kingsbury's offense. Think about where he's been over the duration of his NFL career. He got drafted by Cleveland when they were truly in the midst of being horrific Cleveland. He's been with the Washington football team. He was with the Giants last year. Actually won at Seattle as the starter last year for the Giants. Slow, methodical, moving 5 to 7 step drop offenses. He's in the perfect marriage now. Shotgun, quick throws, Kingsbury, perfect marriage. You should be in support of Colt McCoy this weekend, as am I. Go check it out, PHNX.com.
And be in support of Johnny and the wonderful articles that he writes that he's so passionate about on our website, gophnx.com. Become a member, support Johnny and that passion. We love to see it, Johnny. Okay.
There it is.
There's the laugh I needed today. Thank you. All it took was a chef's kiss from Johnny.
I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go eat pizza with my kids after this is over.
All right. Well, it seemed like the team had officially turned a corner today in terms of forgetting about everything that happened last Thursday. It seemed like some of the things that they were frustrated over, they're now saying, kind of defending teammates, etc., and feel like they've all had closure on what happened and how that game ended. So here's what Cliff Kingsbury had to say about AJ Green. Unfortunately, he was not at practice. We saw that. Didn't know it was because of COVID. So we were all still hanging on to the questions about Thursday. But here's what Cliff had to say in his defense.
He's a pro. And, like I said, that's a miscommunication. It had nothing to do with a fault of somebody. It's one guy thought it was one thing, the other guy thought it was something else. And so he understands what he's meant to this offense so far and how much better we've been with him. And I expect him to continue to just play at a high level.
There was a lot of criticism, it seems like, for AJ on that final play. You feel like that's unfair?
Yeah, I mean, nobody understands what went on except the people that were there and part of it. And it was one of those deals where a signal-based offense and a signal was misinterpreted, and that happens. But it wasn't like he did anything malicious or screwed anything up. It just unfortunate it happened at that time.
So the question was a little low in terms of the volume on the audio. So you asked if you felt like it was unfair for all the criticism that AJ's received since then, and obviously he said, yeah. It's good that he is speaking out in defense of AJ. I think sometimes, and I don't know if this was the case, but I think sometimes coaches intentionally will send messages knowing that it could get back to a player, whether that's something like, hey, we want to like hammer something to you, or just throw it out there like, I'm going to openly talk about it. I'm sure it'll get back to you. We've talked privately, but I also am going to have your back publicly. We've moved on from it. We support you, AJ. We understand that it was a miscommunication. Things happen. It's not just your fault. And, we certainly know that it wasn't anything that you did intentionally. So I think that was good to clear the air in that way.
Well, I think Johnny said it in an article that there were a lot of things that went wrong in that game, and it's really not just AJ Green's fault, right? I mean, yes, it looks like it when it comes down to that final play. I just kind of choose to be a little proud of the way they marched downfield there on that final drive, even though it didn't work out. I try to accentuate the positives myself for that situation because they really shouldn't have even been in that position. They did a great job defensively of making a stand against the Packers, and then they drove down. I get it didn't work out. I get it was heartbreaking there at the end, but it was also a situation that they did some really great things in the fourth quarter, and I think it was those great things that made it such a heartbreaking loss, whereas it probably otherwise would have just been a game that people said they didn't play well and the Packers were just a little bit better. Instead, they had an opportunity to win it on the final play. And I think that they as a team, including A.J. Green, deserve credit for getting them in that position, downfield. It sucks that it went that way. And it sucks that it went so terribly, it's so terribly wrong for one person who, when you go back and look at that play, it looks like he would have easily, caught that ball had he been paying attention and was ready for it in that position, in that play.
Yeah, he got them out of the 1 yard line, basically out of the end zone with a huge reception on third down.
But then that gets erased because of this. You know what I mean?
No one remembers that. Yeah. No one remembers how he stepped up in the fourth quarter, sans, DeAndre Hopkins for the most part. You're playing the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. You turn the ball over 3 times. I know that was one of the turnovers. And they don't turn the ball over once, and they dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. You're going to lose. And that play kind of encapsulated the night that they just didn't have their A game for whatever reason, didn't protect well, didn't rush the passer at all. It was fitting. You score there and you feel like you stole that game. That's what the synopsis would have been. The Cardinals came back and stole this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they had just thrown like a bunch of incomplete passes to end the game and they weren't in field goal range, people would just been like, "There's just off night, not good enough," right? So to me, it's a moot point. I know what kind of player A.J. Green's been for this team. If you can't see that, you're blind to that, then I don't know what to tell you. That means you don't really know a lot about football. I mean, I go back to that play he had against the LA Rams where he just single coverage carrying guys into the end zone.
Yes.
The Cardinals need A.J. Green in order to get to where they want to be this year. They wouldn't be 7-1 without him, and just chalk it up to just a loss in a long season that, to your point, Chierstin, we just want to put it behind us, and this stupid 10-day layoff is just messing everything up, and A.J. Green gets COVID. We're trying to get to Sunday, so we have new topics to talk about.
And that's worse for him, right? Because now he can't play and he can't redeem himself, and he has to just sit on that play and what he did wrong, and the criticism for even longer than the 10-day layoff now. I'm sure all he wants to do is get back out on the field and catch a football and catch touchdowns and just, kind of shake it off, do the Ted Lasso thing and have a memory like a goldfish. Can't have a memory like a goldfish when you're, going to be sitting, not playing for 17 plus days.
So Chris Banjo, in my opinion, safety and special teamer, had the quote of the day when he was asked about what do you tell a guy like Rondale, who's a rookie, but he also made, some pretty significant mistakes. And here's what he had to say.
Personally, you just remind him who he is, and he's a badass, excuse my language. But Rondale, he's a hell of a player. And, again, just remind him who he is, and then also remind him that we got him as a team. There are a lot of things that we all could have done better in that game, in that moment particularly. So we just, again, remind him that we all got him and that we're still counting on him to be the badass that he is and make plays for us, which he has done and he's going to continue to do.
I love that. First off, he echoed the sentiment that, hey, like there were a lot of things that went wrong in that game that they could have done better. But I love the fact that it doesn't seem like anybody is holding any sort of a grudge against any one player. In fact, they're, coming to, their teammates' support and encouraging them. And I feel like if it was a different locker room, and if they didn't have the chemistry that this team has, then, that could, possibly divide a locker room, with certain mistakes that went on the field. Certainly everybody's going to make a mistake at some point, within the year. But I'd love to see the way that they're lifting each other up and just saying, hey, we're turning a page. What's in the past is in the past. And I really feel like, they were out there on the field for the first time this week and for the first time in several days. And so I feel like today was really the turning point for them.
Yeah. Do people remember what the Cardinal return game was like before Rondell Moore arrived in Arizona? Like not only last year, but for the last half decade, what punt returns and kick returns looked like for this franchise. It was like that every week. It was like, let's take the ball out of the end zone and get, plus 10 yards, right? And start at the 10-yard line. Or we're going to muff a punt every other game, or we're going to have consistently negative plays. Rondell is their special teams MVP. If they redrafted the first round, everything that I've read, comments from draft insiders, Rondell Moore would be a firm first-round pick. He might be a top 20 pick at this rate. So he is a badass, and they're very fortunate to have him. And just like A.J. Green, they're not 7-1 without him. And he's 21 years old, and he's a rookie. He's going to have that kind of rookie coming out party in the worst way possible, which unfortunately for him happened on a nationally televised game. My guess is by the time his career is over, people are going to remember him for many different reasons, but no one's going to care about, hey, as a rookie, you muffed a punt on Thursday Night Football. So they need him. They're fortunate to have him. It's one game. If he does it again this year, I mean, it's like, I can't imagine the pressure that you're on if you're 21 years old on this Cardinal team with this expectations. But he's passed every barometer, every litmus test. He's way better than I thought he was going to be. He had a phenomenal. I mean, we're 8 weeks into the season. You remember the preseason hype around this guy that seemingly came out of nowhere? I mean, I'm just stoked. Fingers crossed. We haven't heard anything about Zaven Collins, but just to have a rookie contributor like he and Marco Wilson to perform at this level so soon, just it bodes well for the Cardinals. And I mean, it's a long ass season.
Yeah, and Jordan P. Not that I'm trying to harp on Rondale here, but Jordan P. says that he only had one mistake. The tipped interception was thrown too high, not his fault. He also muffed a punt and had a couple other mistakes. So he did have it was a pretty brutal game for him. But anyway, he is still a phenomenal player. He's an asset to this team. And, his teammates certainly don't think any less of him. And like Chris said, he's a badass. And I think I think Cardinals fans don't feel any differently about him because he had a bad game. So.
Also, fun side note, he was 11 years old when A.J. Green entered the league.
I hate stats like that. Now that I'm getting a little bit older, it's like, I don't even want to freaking hear that stuff.
I know. My friend does it to me with music all the time.
Rondale Moore. What year was he born?
He's
2000.
21. Yeah, he's 2000.
2000.
Imagine being born in 2000.
Yeah, he was born after I graduated high school. So yeah.
No,
it's not great. It's not great.
He's adorable.
He's a great guy. Great, like you said, Johnny. He's an incredible asset for this team, and he's only going to get better. He has an explosive nature that he's only going to learn how to navigate in the NFL even better as he gets older.
He's due for a big game. I think he smokes San Francisco. He had that beautiful catch at State Farm Stadium along the sideline against San Francisco, especially with no A.J. Green. And if you've got Hopkins still semi-hobbled, the Niners have nobody that can hang with him. All their DBs and their corners in particular are old, like Drake Kirkpatrick and Josh Norman. I would do what I can. Get Rondale Moore on single coverage and just let him operate because they have nobody that can handle him.
I think if I were to bet on one guy that's going to have a really big game, it probably would be Rondale, or at least I'd love to see that. I think he goes from a welcome to the NFL game to I've arrived game this weekend.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Totally fair. Yep.
It would be great to see him step up in a situation where the team really needs him with this many injuries. And, especially if Kyler isn't available and they go with Colt. If Colt can utilize him and make him into a bigger weapon this week, I mean, maybe even his role expands a bit more. I think that the Cardinals could use him more. I think that there's a lot of different option plays that they could use with him.
All right. Well, I mentioned that if you love Johnny's passion for what he does, then you can support us and support him by becoming a member at gophnx.com. And now I want to further remind you that if you do become a member of the family, then you're going to get either a free t-shirt, which we've got a ton of awesome t-shirts up on phnxlocker.com, including our favorite JJ Watt inspired t-shirt, Maybe We're Just Effing Better, which has been a bestseller, just a great all-around looking t-shirt. But also we've got Suns themed t-shirts, ASU, U of A, Coyotes themed t-shirts up on that on the website, PHNX Locker. So if you become a member, you can get a free t-shirt of your choice, or you can get your first month for just 50 cents, depending on which option you choose. So we highly encourage it. But even if you don't want to become a member, go ahead and check out our t-shirts on phnxlocker.com, because we've got some pretty talented people here at PHNX and DNVR that are designing those t-shirts that we're pretty proud of.
There's some great t-shirts. They really are. I get in trouble for telling everybody to get all the other shirts besides the D-back shirts on my show, but I'm just saying there's some really great shirts
looking good in that.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Black and
My
white
camera
PHNX shirt.
Can't pick
Yes.
up all of it. Here you go.
My personal
Sorry
favorite
about
is
that.
the shirt like that, but that's gray. It's really
Oh,
good
nice.
looking in person. Yeah, it's great.
Wait a second. We can do gray?
There is a gray logoed shirt without the PHNX at the bottom, and it's just the flag. It's a cool shirt. Yeah,
Oh, I don't know
Yeah.
if I knew about that.
it's gray on black. Yeah, check it out.
I want one of those.
PHNXlocker.com.
I want one of those Suns gorilla shirts. That
Hey!
thing's pretty
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
That's based on this tattoo, by the way.
Oh,
I'm
my
very
God,
proud of
what?
that.
Look at that. That's great.
Yeah, Arnold designed it based on.
Wait, are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. He liked he wanted to do a gorilla like tattoo design, and then he saw mine and actually asked me if it was a gorilla, and I said it was, and yeah, so he kind of.
Wait, so
modeled it
what's
a
your
bit off of-
tattoo for? Is that supposed to be for the Suns?
No, mine's something completely different. Of course it's pro wrestling related, so it's not that, but it is a gorilla wearing a luchador mask, so at least
Okay.
it's
Are
along
you
those
not
lines.
going to like give us all the details?
Okay, I
Come on,
can't. I
Derek.
mean, people don't. Okay, so I go to a show called Pro Wrestling Gorilla in California, and it's
Okay.
it's kind of a very popular promotion for scouts for major television companies to or major wrestling companies to like kind of pick talent from. But a lot of times their guys are unknown, so it's kind of, I don't know. It's like watching a futures game or something. It's like, going to the McDonald's high school basketball game or something like that, where it's like the next top talent in the in the field all kind of come there and then usually get signed or hired from there. So it's something my friends and I have done for years, and it's a blast. We like doing it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
this was
Learn
in
something new.
dedication to the years of us going to it. A friend of mine and I both got the mask gorilla tattoo.
Nice.
And now you've inspired others.
Yeah, hey, now there's a Suns t-shirt, so now I obviously I need to buy that one myself. So I don't know why I don't have it already. It's kind of ridiculous.
All right, let's move into our last segment. Thank you for sharing your tattoo story, Derek. We appreciate it. Birdgang Blitz
Reluctantly.
Mailbag. We take your questions and we do our best to answer them here on the PHNX Cardinals podcast. Coach Evan B is asking, why can't we have nice things?
I love
Do either
this
one of you want to take a gander at that?
My guess is the nice weather. I don't know. I feel like we don't get nice things ever. I think that we are Arizona sports fans, so we've grown accustomed. We almost don't know what to do when things are going well. This summer with the Suns
Like,
going.
what do I do with my hands?
What do I
do
do?
with my 7-0 team? Everything's going to go to shit in the next week and a half.
Yeah, right. Do you know how many teams would be thrilled for their team to be 7-1 or fans? We're not. We're like, oh yeah, it's coming.
When's it gonna
seen
go
this
bad?
before. When's the other shoe gonna drop? So I don't know why we can't have nice things. We're nice people.
I think we had nice things with an NBA team that went to the finals. Now they're not. I mean, now something's going wrong, but I mean, you can't always have nice things.
We've had nice things one time in 2001. That's it. When's the other? We deserve championships, at least sporadically. I found it wild that they were saying that the Braves, who won the World Series, last won it in 1995, and they were making that sound like it was so long ago. And I remember watching that World Series, so it's not that long ago. The Cardinals not winning a Super Bowl in the entire existence of them being in this city or this state. That's something that I need rectified as soon as possible. I hope this is the year for it.
The Cardinals did sort of hit a point where it was like, everything's going so great. Everything's going so great. Nobody moved too quickly. Everything's going great, 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 great. And then it was like JJ and,
and then the gloss.
It's
AJ. Well, and here's the other thing. So now, like the other worst part about it is, like, no matter how good our teams are, I feel like we're always contending with a slightly better team in our same division in any sport. We never get even, obviously they didn't get the respect and the credit when they were undefeated because they were still like number 3 at best on a lot of power rankings, right? But then you factor in now that the LA Rams are the team in the division that everybody's talking about going for it with the acquisition of Von Miller. And, like Johnny doesn't even think that that's that good of a trade for the Rams.
No,
really. So
I think it's shitty, and I'm glad they made it.
Right. But I mean, it's like, it just seems like no matter what, we're always going up, no matter how good our team is doing, we're always going up against the team that, is spending the more money or acquiring the better players or whatever, just having that edge up on us.
All right. Book It Booker asks, what do you guys think the Cardinals can ultimately do to slow down teams running the ball so well against us? 5 to 6 yards per catch is so unsustainable, especially come playoff time.
Well, their base defense is predicated on giving up yards in the run game to help supplement in the pass game. That's why they're top 5 defensively against the pass and bottom tier against the run. That's their formula. Vance Joseph wants to run, and you're giving extra help to the Marco Wilsons of the world, to the Byron Murphys of the world with additional safety. So the Cardinals typically run at least 5 DBs in a singular play. Most of the time it's 6. And then if you include Isaiah Simmons, sometimes playing on the back end. So all that to say, they would have to change philosophically what they do. And with the offense being the Corvette that it is, when it's at, operating on all cylinders, they put so much pressure on you to abandon the run. And if they force a couple 3 and outs, which they did early in the season, and then just hit the ground running offensively, teams become one-dimensional. They made the Rams one-dimensional. They made the Browns one-dimensional. The Titans in their week 1 victory. It just didn't happen last week because the past 2 weeks, the offense started so slow against Houston and Green Bay, especially Green Bay with an elite quarterback and head coach combination. They were able to nickel and dime their way down the field, and they don't turn the ball over as a result. So I don't think it needs to be. You can have a poor run defense and win a championship. There have been teams historically, the Indianapolis Colts with Peyton Manning. What you cannot have is a team that can't rush the passer. That to me is the bigger concern right now. Where is the pass rush from Chandler Jones without J.J. Watt? Is it going to come from the interior with Jordan Phillips? As long as they can do that, because this is a passing league, they'll be fine. But I agree with you. Like, people have PTSD now of Thursday night and think every team's going to remedy what Green Bay just did. Everybody knows you can run on the Cardinals, but can you match them score for score offensively? And that to me is the bigger question mark.
I like how you said, I agree with you. And you were like the only person that was answering that question. You're having a conversation with yourself, Jody. You got really fired up about that.
I didn't need. I agree with the question. I think it's a fair question to ask. My mistake.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just tired of seeing them get gashed up the middle like they've gotten. Like, it's kind of embarrassing at times to see the way the teams are able to just, not do nothing more than just run directly up the middle on the Cardinals and be very successful with that. That's as a fan, as someone that doesn't cover this game like you guys do, but somebody that just watches it, that's infuriating to me about the defense. Probably the biggest thing that drives me nuts, even in wins, like even at times where they've been dominant, they still like you said, Johnny, they still give up the yards, but they can. It doesn't matter in the end score. It's just frustrating to watch because it seems like this defense should be better than that. It should, especially if this line isn't getting the penetration to get to the quarterback like they should. They should at least be able to not be giving up, 8-yard runs up the middle consistently to teams that aren't necessarily that good at rushing the ball.
Bend don't break is fine with me as long as they are able to get the win. All right. It's Logan 23 is asking, how comfortable are you with Andy playing in place of Green and Colt in place of Kyler? I feel like we've touched on this already today. I think that for sure we're all confident in Colt. Johnny for sure loves himself some Colt, and so he will tell you.
I think he's going to play well. I don't want to see Andy Isabella on the field, though.
And you don't expect to, apparently.
No.
Yeah.
Just active and ready to go if need be, but
he'll be active on game day. Yeah.
Yeah. Dressed, as we established.
Yeah.
All right. Last question here from Ray Mariscal. Since JJ hasn't gotten, I think we might have already touched on this. Since JJ hasn't gotten surgery yet, do you think there's a sliver of hope that he comes back? Derrick Henry just got injured Sunday, then got surgery Tuesday. Just very curious as to why he hasn't gotten it done yet.
Ray, I need my tinfoil hat for conspiracies because I'm fully bought into this theory that something's going on with Watt and the organization that they are keeping under wraps. We haven't touched on this subject in 5 days.
I'm going to laugh when it's not, it's a serious matter. Surgery is a serious matter, but I'm going to laugh when tomorrow it comes out that JJ Watt's had successful surgery and whatever.
It'll be 25
from the segment and post it on my Twitter and I'll eat all the crow. But I want to believe. Your belief is making me believe. That's my job here on the show is to get people to buy in and influence on my crazy batshit crazy scenarios. And this is one of them.
I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I wish I could quickly pull up the laundry list of things that he broke or tore.
I don't want to see it again.
It's
put it out of my mind. Get it away from me.
Johnny, it doesn't be fine.
It's everything in this section of his body. It's
he put some aloe on it, some aloe cream, and
he's got the
a couple tubs. He's fine.
He ate some chicken soup.
He's doing this. He's good.
He took a nap. And he's doing great.
He's doing those resistance bands. He's good. A little bit of this, a little bit of this.
No.
We're going to see number 99 real soon, everybody.
If it was one thing was torn or whatever, and maybe the tear wasn't as bad, but literally the entire one side of his body, it was torn to shreds.
His arm
we
was
separated. For sure.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Allegedly. Anybody can fake a laundry list.
Prove it. I want to see the scans and all the biopsies and charts and all that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll get some more clarity by the end of the week and get some more clarity on Kyler and D-Hop and AJ and the rest of the gang. But for now, I think we've discussed everything with all the information that we have. If you have not subscribed to our podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or our YouTube channel to watch our live streams or our social media channels at PHNX_sports, we'd really appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe, hit that follow button, and we'll see you Friday.